Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Hemkor Saroya.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and on the show today, Prime Minister Modi has arrived in Japan, where he will participate in the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit and also engage in high-level talks with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. We're going to get you all the details on that front. Stay tuned.
Also on the show today, the Israeli Air Force conducted a targeted strike in Yemen and Lebanon. Unconfirmed reports say the targeted strike outside Yemen's capital Sana'a was aimed at wiping out Houthi military and political leadership. We'll be getting you the latest on this on the show as well. Stay tuned for that.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Japan to a grand welcome. During the two-day visit, he will participate in the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit.
Israel strikes Houthi-related military target in Yemen. Unconfirmed reports say targeted strike outside capital Sana'a, seemingly aimed at wiping out the military and political leadership of the Iran-backed rebels.
The UK and European Union summoned Russian envoy after overnight missile strikes on Kiev that killed at least 23 people and damaged the city's British Council and EU offices. Ukraine's Air Force says the attack involved 629 missiles and drones, one of the biggest aerial attacks by Russia of the war.
A Polish F-16 fighter jet crashes while preparing for an air show in the city of Radom, killing the pilot. Video shows the aircraft performing an acrobatic maneuver before crashing onto the runway in a ball of fire.
Mourners gathered at a church to pray for the victims of the Minneapolis shooting. The shooter killed 2 children and wounded dozens at a Catholic school before dying of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
White House reportedly selects Jim O'Neill as acting head of the CDC after several members of the current leadership depart. O'Neill is the top deputy of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan's nephew sent on judicial remand. Sher Shah, son of Khan's sister Alima Khan, was sent to jail by an anti-terrorism court in a case related to May 9, 2023 riots.
Taliban-led government in Afghanistan has accused Pakistan of provocation after aerial strikes hit 2 eastern provinces, killing at least 3 people and wounding 7 others.
Thailand's Constitutional Court to decide today the fate of suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra over her handling of the country's border row with Cambodia. She is accused of failing to stand up for Thailand in a June call with powerful former Cambodian leader Hun Sen.
Wall Street hits record highs as stronger than expected US GDP growth and solid earnings boost investor confidence. The S&P 500 and Dow both close at new records, while attention now turns to key inflation data. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Japan on a two-day visit aimed at strengthening bilateral ties.
Prime Minister Modi will participate in the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit, where he'll engage with high-level talks with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. Now, this is Prime Minister Modi's 8th visit to Japan and the first summit with his Japanese counterpart.
Upon his arrival, Prime Minister Modi was given a rousing welcome from members of the Indian diaspora.
While Japanese artists prepared cultural performances in Tokyo.
Now, people from the Japanese community recited the Gayatri Mantra and other mantras for the visiting Prime Minister. Ahead of his departure to Japan, Prime Minister Modi said that the visit would focus on deepening India's special strategic and global partnership, boosting economic and cultural linkages, along with the cooperation in areas like emerging technologies, AI and semiconductors.
Well, as part of the 15th India-Japan Summit, the two leaders are expected to review bilateral ties and strengthen economic and defense cooperation. New Delhi and Tokyo are likely to upgrade the 2008 Joint Declaration on Security Cooperation and launch Economic Security Initiative. Now, focusing on semiconductors, critical minerals, AI, telecommunication and clean energy. New Delhi will also explore Japan's participation in future bullet train projects.
Prime Minister Modi and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba will travel to Sendai, a city renowned for its semiconductor industry, via bullet train. The meeting between the leaders, which as two leading democracies, takes on added significance amid heightened tensions between New Delhi and Washington, hours after Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian imports kicked in. In response, India has identified Japan as one of 40 countries where Indian exporters will focus on expanding their presence.
And for more on this, Siddhant Sibbal, our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, has sent us this report. Take a look.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has reached the Japanese capital Tokyo, and today will be a big day as the India-Japan summit takes place later in the day. Now, ahead of the visit, the Indian Prime Minister said that the visit will provide new ambitions, new wings to these ambitions, and essentially the focus will be on everything, whether it's infrastructure, whether it is critical and emerging technologies with focus on AI and also on semiconductors. Now, the visit comes at a time when, of course, Donald Trump's tariffs have been a global concern, and this is something that will be weighing on the mind of both the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Japanese Prime Minister. And focus, of course, will be to how both countries can forge together and come up with a solution. Also, concerns in the South China Sea will be topping the agenda as well. It is believed that in a draft statement, this is something that is being referred, and we'll get to know very soon how much that concern was highlighted in the joint statement. Siddhant Sibbal for WION.
And the Israeli Air Force conducted a targeted strike in Yemen, reportedly aiming to eliminate the military and political leadership of the Iran-backed Houthis.
Now, the operation described by the Hebrew media as Israel's most dramatic strike in Yemen yet was first reported by the Houthi-run Al Masirah TV and was confirmed by Defense Minister Israel Katz and Israeli Defense Forces, though they did not give details of the targets. The IDF said Israeli forces struck a Houthi military target in Sana'a.
Now, hours before that, the Houthis claimed responsibility for another missile attack on Israel, which IDF said it had intercepted.
The missile force of the Yemeni armed forces carried out a military operation targeting Ben Gurion Airport in the occupied Jaffa region using a Palestine II hypersonic ballistic missile. The operation successfully achieved its goal.
In Lebanon, 2 army personnel were killed when an Israeli drone that had crashed in the country's south exploded near the Israeli border. The Lebanese army said the explosion took place while army personnel were inspecting the drone after it fell in the Nakura area, leading to the death of an officer and a soldier and wounding 2 other personnel.
President Joseph Aoun said it was the 4th deadly incident for the army since it began deploying in South Lebanon after the ceasefire. He said the Lebanese army is paying in blood the price of maintaining stability in the south.
The Thursday incident coincided with UN Security Council voting UN peacekeepers to leave Lebanon in 2027, allowing only one final extension after pressure from Israel and its US ally to end the nearly 50-year-old force.
Now, some 10,800 peacekeepers have been acting as a buffer between Israel and Lebanon since 1978, remaining in place even after Israel ended an occupation of southern Lebanon in 2000. UNIFIL's mandate was originally set to expire on Sunday. Furthermore, United Nations peacekeepers uncovered a Hezbollah bunker in a wooden alley which is close to the Israeli border in southern Lebanon. A former bastion of the militant group, the site on the outskirts of the village of Meri was hidden among trees and accessible only on foot via a rough mountain path.
Meanwhile, US Senator Lindsey Graham has reiterated calls for Hezbollah's disarmament after meetings with government officials in both Israel and Lebanon, suggesting the potential use of military force to achieve it.
It is time for Hezbollah to go. They are trained by Iran, they are loyal to Iran, and we're looking for military power in Lebanon to be loyal to the Lebanese people and a good partner to the region.
Now, in other development, Palestinian factions at refugee camps in Lebanon continue to hand over weapons to the Lebanese army as part of an initiative which is aimed at transforming camps into civil societies. Last week, some weapons were handed over at the Burj al-Barajneh camp and more camps followed on Thursday. And European countries have moved to impose UN sanctions on Iran.
Britain, France and Germany have set a 30-day clock ticking by triggering the snapback mechanism to impose sanctions over Iran's nuclear drive.
France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has said that the imposition of sanctions do not signal the end of diplomacy. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul also took to the social media platform X and said the reimposition of UN sanctions on Iran could mark the beginning of a new phase in diplomatic negotiations.
Now, this move comes under the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which had lifted international sanctions in exchange for restrictions on Tehran's nuclear activities. Now, unless the UN Security Council adopts a resolution to extend sanctions relief, the earlier measures will automatically return at the end of the deadline.
Now, under snapback sanctions from earlier Security Council resolutions will return, including an arms embargo, ban on nuclear fuel enrichment and ballistic missile activity, asset freezes, travel bans and inspection of Iranian cargo. Well, the Security Council must vote within 30 days to continue sanctions relief, but Britain and France hold veto power, making renewal effectively impossible.
Now, this mechanism stems from the 2015 nuclear deal, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, in which Iran accepted restrictions on its nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of international sanctions. European countries argue Tehran's uranium enrichment and withdrawal from commitments represent a failure.
Meanwhile, Iran has rejected the decision and promised a firm response. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the action was illegal and unjustified and warned that Tehran would defend its rights.
On Wednesday, IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi said that he met with Secretary of State Marco Rubio to discuss Iran ahead of sanctions deadline and called Iran's cooperation on the matter so far a work in progress.
How we do this? Iran passed legislation requiring certain security concerns to be addressed. We want to know what these concerns are, how we can address them. So they have a new system, internal system, which is, for us, it is, we don't have an issue with that.
Well, Russia and China opposed the European position, claiming the E3 have not upheld their commitment and therefore lack standing to trigger a snapback.
This move by European countries, in our view, has absolutely no legal bearing, because they were not implementing Resolution 2231 in good faith. For example, they did nothing in terms of lifting sanctions against Iran during the so-called transition day 2 years ago. They are acting absolutely in breach of JCPOA in each and every sense and letter and spirit of this document.
On the other hand, Iran is enriching uranium to 60% purity, which is far beyond civilian needs.
The United States, under US President Donald Trump's second term, backs maximum pressure on Tehran and has coupled economic sanctions with threats of force.
And a new Cold War is brewing not on land but in the silent, crushing depths of our oceans.
Western and Eastern powers are playing a dangerous game of cat and mouse beneath the waves as Russian and Chinese submarines patrol together in first-of-its-kind drill in the Asia-Pacific, while the Royal Navy is practicing to hunting them down. Take a look at this next report for more details.
Silent, invisible and deadly. A new battle is unfolding beneath the world's oceans in the North Atlantic. Britain is on high alert. Naval commanders fear a Russian submarine, dubbed the Real Red October, is prowling close to its shores. Sonar buoys dropped. Frigates deployed. RAF patrol planes sweeping the skies. Every ping, every shadow treated as a threat. The hunt is on. Across the globe, another chapter of this undersea chess match is playing out. For the first time, China and Russia have launched a joint submarine patrol in the Asia-Pacific. Two nuclear-armed navies operating side by side, signaling unity, defiance and ambition to dominate the world's oceans. Western intelligence calls it a double provocation. Britain faces Moscow's stealth push into the Atlantic. The US and its allies confront a Beijing-Moscow axis patrolling contested waters in Asia. And unlike battles fought in the open air, this war is silent. Submarines move unseen, armed with torpedoes and nuclear missiles. One mistake, one miscalculation could ignite a clash with catastrophic consequences.
And the White House has reportedly selected a top deputy of health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to serve as the acting head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Now, this comes as several members of the current leadership departed after a clash over the vaccine policy.
Now, as per the Washington Post, sources said that Jim O'Neill, currently the Deputy Secretary at the Department of Health and Human Services, will take charge of the agency. They added that the selection of O'Neill clears a path for RFK Jr. to continue his efforts to overhaul federal vaccine policy.
Now, the White House on Wednesday fired then Director Susan Manaras after she refused to resign amid pressure by Kennedy and his allies to change vaccine policy. The health secretary has claimed that there was a lot of trouble at the CDC and vowed to fix it.
I would say this, that first of all, I will confirm that we let go Susan Manaras yesterday. I'm not going to talk about personnel issues, but the CDC is an agency that is very troubled for a very long time, and anybody who lived through the COVID pandemic and saw all of these bizarre recommendations that were not science-based, all the misinformation, understands that.
Well, earlier the White House had said that Trump fired the previous CDC director himself because she was not aligned with his mission.
What I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't. So the president fired her, which he has every right to do.
Manaras' departure triggered the resignation of other senior officials at the agency, some of whom have decried Kennedy's efforts to restrict access to vaccines and warned that the administration's agenda will harm public health. When 3 CDC officials who resigned late Wednesday to collect their belongings, hundreds of current and former workers cheered them.
When I resigned, I think the 3 of us don't intend to get our jobs back. Do I love CDC? Would I love to go back? Yes, but I can't go back to this CDC. I left because the CDC needs to change.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
CDC Director Susan Manaras has been fired after less than a month in office. Ironically, Manaras was the first CDC director ever confirmed by the Senate, a step meant to shield the agency from politics. Her lawyers say that she refused to rubber stamp reckless directives pushed by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She'll be replaced by Jim O'Neill, a former investment executive with no medical background who previously worked at the HHS under President George W. Bush. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, himself a physician, warned that vaccine policy coming out of Kennedy's reshaped advisory committee, quote unquote, lacks legitimacy and must face oversight. Now, some worry with winter season coming up and all the changes, childhood vaccination policy in the U.S. could be changed and revamped for years to come. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And Indonesia remains on edge as thousands continue to protest the gap between people's wages and lawmakers' allowances.
Well, earlier in the day, thousands of workers took to the streets in Jakarta, the capital, echoed with chants and slogans. The demonstrators have a demand, underlining the glaring issue of disparity in the country, while protesters are calling for higher wages and, on the other hand, reduce the allowances and salaries of politicians.
Thousands marched towards the parliament building while waving flags and singing songs, but the protest soon turned violent as police fired tear gas to manage the massive rally heading down Jakarta's streets. The capital turned into a smoke-filled battleground, with many demonstrators clashing with the police.
Well, the protests began last week after reports surfaced of lavish allowances to parliamentarians amounting to 50 million rupiah. That's more than $3,000 to each of Indonesia's 580 lawmakers being given since September of last year. Well, this as the nation of 280 million reels under an economic hardship burdening the common man.
The housing benefit alone amounts to about 30 times the monthly minimum wage in some poor provinces. Add to it the discontentment over the allegations of corruption plaguing the Prabowo Subianto government. And with that, it's time now for a short break.
But don't go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, Taliban-led government in Afghanistan has accused Pakistan of provocation after aerial strikes hit 2 eastern provinces, killing at least 3 people and wounding 7 others. We're going to get you all the details on the other side. Stay tuned.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Dive right into the spirit of Ganesh Chaturthi with films and songs that capture the essence of the Indian festival. Take a look at the fashion evolution of the West and know all about the role of costumes in period dramas. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show as well. Let's get started with the headlines first.
The United States approved sale of over 3,000 extended-range attack munition air-launched missiles in a deal that's worth $825 million. Kiev will make the purchase with funding from Denmark, the Netherlands and Norway and a loan guarantee from the United States.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Japan to a grand welcome. During the two-day visit, he will participate in the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit.
Israel strikes Houthi-related military targets in Yemen. Unconfirmed reports say the targeted strike outside capital Sana'a seemingly aimed at wiping out the military and political leadership of the Iran-backed rebels.
A Polish F-16 fighter jet crashes while preparing for an air show in the city of Radom, killing the pilot. Video shows the aircraft performing an acrobatic maneuver before crashing onto the runway in a ball of fire.
The White House reportedly selects Jim O'Neill as acting head of the CDC after several members of the current leadership depart. O'Neill is a top deputy of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan's nephew sent on judicial remand. Shah, son of Khan's sister Alima Khan, was sent to jail by an anti-terrorism court in a case related to the 9th of May 2023 riots.
Taliban-led government in Afghanistan has accused Pakistan of provocation after aerial strikes hit two of the eastern provinces, killing at least 3 people and wounding 7 others.
Thailand's constitutional court to decide today fate of suspended Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra over her handling of the country's border row with Cambodia. She is accused of failing to stand up for Thailand in a June call with powerful former Cambodian leader Hun Sen.
Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has sued President Trump, arguing that he has no legal authority to remove her in a landmark challenge to the Fed's independence. A preliminary court hearing is set for Friday.
"45-year-old Venus Williams claims her first Grand Slam victory in over 4 years in the opening round of women's doubles at the US Open.
Afghanistan's Taliban government has accused Pakistan of carrying out deadly air and drone strikes into border provinces overnight. It has also summoned Pakistan's ambassador to Afghanistan to register its protest.
Now, a statement issued by Afghanistan's foreign ministry called the strikes a provocative action and condemned the violation of the country's airspace.
Kabul has accused the Pakistani army of targeting civilians in Khost and Nangarhar province, leading to the death of at least 3 children. At least 7 people were also wounded in the strikes on 2 provinces.
Last night at 11 p.m, Pakistani drones fired 2 missiles at the house of one of our compatriots, destroying his house.
The incident occurred around 10:30 p.m. The casualties are civilians, with 3 children, 1 girl and 2 boys killed. 5 people were wounded and are now being treated in Coast Hospital.
Now, hostilities in the frontier area between Afghanistan and Pakistan have escalated since the Taliban seized power in 2021, with Islamabad battling a resurgence of militant violence in its western regions. Pakistan has regularly accused the Taliban of harboring militant fighters, including Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or TTP, who share a common ideology with their Afghan counterparts.
However, there has been a recent warming of ties through trilateral meetings between the neighboring countries and China, one of which led to Islamabad upgrading its diplomatic relations with Kabul.
And flash floods swept through parts of Asir province in southwest Saudi Arabia.
This after heavy rainfall overwhelmed streets, leaving several vehicles stranded and washed away. Take a look at these images. And India and Canada have announced new high commissioners to each other's countries.
With senior diplomats Dinesh K. Patnaik and Christopher Cooter all set to begin their new assignments, signalling improving ties between the two nations.
Now, according to India's Ministry of External Affairs, Dinesh Patnaik is appointed as New Delhi's next High Commissioner to Canada and is expected to take up the assignment in Ottawa shortly.
Patnaik is a 1990 batch officer of the Indian Foreign Service and one of the country's most senior diplomats. He is currently serving as the Indian ambassador to Spain.
In October 2024, India decided to withdraw its envoy to Canada after former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau leveled serious allegations against New Delhi following the killing of Khalistani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, Trudeau claimed that India was behind the killing of Nijjar on Canadian soil, leading to severe diplomatic tensions between the two countries.
Canada's Foreign Minister Anita Anand and Christopher Cooter will be the High Commissioner to India. The Canadian Foreign Ministry stated Cooter's appointment as an important step towards restoring necessary diplomatic services to citizens and businesses in both countries.
All set to take up the post at the Canadian mission in New Delhi, veteran diplomat Christopher Cooter has 35 years of diplomatic experience. Most recently, he served as Canada's charge d'affaires to Israel and as High Commissioner to South Africa. He has also served as First Secretary in the Canadian mission in New Delhi from 1998 to 2000.
The appointment of the envoys from both the Indian and the Canadian side is seen as a major step towards a sign of bettering relations between the two nations. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who has stressed upon diversifying trade away from the United States, met Indian counterpart Narendra Modi in June for what both sides called a productive meeting. The two leaders met on the margins of the G7 summit and had nodded on several steps to reset bilateral relationship. All right, let's take a look at all the top stories making news in India at this hour. India is celebrating National Sports Day today. To mark the occasion, Union Minister Mansukh Mandavia paid floral tributes to legendary hockey player Major Dhyan Chand on his birth anniversary at the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium. The day is celebrated to promote sports and fitness across the nation.
The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has granted Indigo a 6-month extension to operate 2 leased Boeing 777 aircraft from Turkish Airlines, valid until February 28, 2026 with certain conditions. Now, the move comes less than 3 months after the DGCA in May provided a one-time final extension of 3 months till August 31st to Indigo for operating the Turkish Airlines aircraft and asked it not to seek any extension. Now the move has come against the backdrop of Turkey backing Pakistan and condemning India's strikes on terror camps in the neighbouring country in May. And Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has sued President Donald Trump over his attempt to fire her.
Marking the first such legal challenge in the Fed's history, Trump accused Cook of mortgage fraud, alleging she misrepresented her residency in 2 2021 loan applications. He also sparred with a reporter earlier when asked about weaponization by his administration.
About Lisa Cook. You have spoken out very strongly for a long time about what you see as the weaponization of government.
Yeah.
Is your administration weaponizing government by digging into the mortgage records of officials you don't like?
No, they're public. I mean, you can find out those records. You can go check out the records yourself. And you should be doing that job, actually. You wouldn't do that because that's not the kind of reporter you are. But you should be doing that job. I shouldn't have to be doing it. If you did your job properly, we wouldn't have problems like Lisa Cook. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Go.
Blue.
Lisa Cook if she had voted to lower interest rates on national security?
I think we have to have lower interest rates, yes.
Lisa Cook argues the claims are unproven, predate her 2022 Senate confirmation and cannot be considered legal grounds for removal. Under Section 10 of the 1913 Federal Reserve Act, governors can only be removed for cause, a standard generally limited to inefficiency, neglect of duty or misconduct in the office.
Now, Cook's lawsuit filed in Washington federal court warns that her removal would set a dangerous precedent undermining the Fed's independence. She asked for an emergency court order to block Trump's directive, while the White House insists the president acted lawfully.
Well, if Cook is ousted, Trump could gain a 4-3 majority on the 7-member Fed board. Wall Street Journal had earlier reported on Trump's plan to move quickly to announce a nominee to replace Lisa Cook. Now, among the potential candidates are Stephen Miran, a close economic advisor, and former World Bank Group President David Malpass, another close ally of the president.
Investors are watching closely. Any political control over the central bank could shake confidence in the U.S. monetary policy and credit ratings. Analysts are also flagging risks of increasing Trump involvement in the dealings of corporate America.
The stock market's been very complacent when it comes to the recent decisions of government involvement, in our opinion, within markets. So, the government took a recent stake in Intel for 10%. They're now taking 15% of NVIDIA and AMD revenue. We haven't seen this done ever, and therefore we thought we would see more of a sell-off or volatility within markets. So markets have been very resilient with some of the decision-making that's come out of Washington that's impacted markets directly. I think the key thing that markets are looking for is how this is going to impact the long-term economic outlook of the U.S.
Cook became the first black woman on the Fed's board in 2020. Her term runs until 2038, the longest among current governors. The fight follows Trump's repeated clashes with the Fed and Chair Jerome Powell over interest rate policy. Now, this ruling could determine not just Cook's fate, but the balance of power between the White House and the central bank, a balance that underpins stability in U.S. markets.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen to this.
Lisa Cook's lawsuit against President Trump isn't just unprecedented, it's packed with unusual twists. Cook was sworn in for a 14-year term, yet the president moved to fire her over what she calls old disputed mortgage claims that actually predate her appointment. She's arguing that's not cause under the law, and she's hired Abby Lowell, the high-profile attorney who defended Hunter Biden and Senator Bob Menendez, to make her case. If the president succeeds, it would give him a fast track to flip the Fed's 7-member board in his favor, something no president has ever pulled off midterm. And one more wrinkle, Cook says that she's never even received formal notice before being told she was out, raising due process concerns that could push this fight all the way to the Supreme Court. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, endless queues and excessive waiting hours have long been a crucial problem in Japan's busy public spaces, but not anymore.
A Japanese toilet giant has introduced a new service. The service will not only help people find nearby public restrooms, but also allow them to scan a QR code to see live congestion levels.
Now, though technologically very advanced, Japan, like other countries, struggles with managing long queues outside of public restrooms, particularly for women in its bustling train stations and other places.
Now, users can scan a QR code with their phones to access a website showing nearby restroom locations, and the website will also show live congestion levels.
Now, the purpose of introducing such a service is, of course, as we mentioned earlier, to help users find restrooms quickly in public spaces and also provide details on how busy the washrooms are in real time. The service is multilingual and available in English, Chinese and Korean. It is developed to automatically notify facility staff when a particular cubicle is dirty or occupied for an unusually long time.
Now, according to local media, these will be used to set up digital signage, displays and movable toilet walls that can increase the number of stalls for women. Now, let's shift our focus to the world of sports, where cycling great Chris Froome was airlifted to hospital after sustaining multiple injuries in a crash in southern France.
Froome is stable, but this could mark the end of his cycling career. The 40-year-old Briton was taken to hospital on Wednesday by helicopter following a crash while training near Toulon, which is 170 kilometers from Froome's home in Monaco. Froome's team and Premier Tech described the crash as serious, but said that he was in a stable condition and did not sustain any head injuries.
However, scans showed Froome has 5 broken ribs, a collapsed lung and another fracture. He has undergone back surgery. No other cyclists were involved in the crash, while Froome is one of the most decorated cyclists in history and has won 4 Tour de France titles. This possibly marks the end of his legendary career, as the crash definitely rules him out for the rest of the season. And he is out of contract with his team at the end of the year. Now, this isn't the first time he has suffered a serious crash. Froome was placed in intensive care in 2019 after crashing into a wall while training.
Now, the 82nd Venice International Film Festival has officially commenced, transforming the Lido into a dazzling spectacle of world-class cinema and high fashion.
The opening days have been filled with a parade of cinematic heavyweights and rising stars, all eager to present their work and bask in the festival's unique atmosphere.
A highlight of the early arrivals was the celebrated couple George and Amal Clooney, who brought their signature elegance to the red carpet. George Clooney, ever the charismatic star, spent considerable time interacting with the crowd there.
Now, he was seen warmly greeting fans, signing autographs and posing for numerous photos, ensuring that his admirers had a memorable moment with the Hollywood icon. The enthusiasm of the crowd was palpable as they clamored for a glimpse and a photo with the actor. The pair was met with a flurry of flash bulbs and cheers as they graciously posed for photographs, and their presence setting a high bar for the festival's star power.
The cast of Noah Baumbach's highly anticipated film J. Kelly also made their entrance, signaling the start of a week filled with premieres from some of the industry's most respected auteurs.
The arrival of Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, accompanied by director Yorgos Lanthimos, created a stir that rippled through the Lido. Now he, a Venice favourite, made a grand and fitting entrance by boat before joining his stars on the red carpet.
Emma Stone's appearance in particular ignited a frenzy among the attendees. A massive crowd had gathered, eager to greet the Academy Award-winning actress. Her captivating presence and warm interactions with her fans created a memorable moment, underscoring her immense popularity and the excitement for her latest collaboration.
Well, the trio, whose film Begonia is a competition entry, were greeted by a massive crowd of fans and media. The festival also hosted the world premiere of the Zaslow Nemes competition film, Often. The event was a study in classic cinematic glamour.
As women in stunning pearly dress stole the show on the red carpet with their elegant posing, a moment that captured the timeless allure of the Venice Film Festival.
And a long-awaited spin-off of the hit comedy show The Office is set to release soon.
Now, this one's called The Paper, and a screening of the series was also held in LA. Take a look.
Well, it was a long way, but what's happening now, it's beyond the dream. I didn't dare to dream so big. So I can't even describe what I'm feeling in this moment. It's such an incredible honor to be, as an Italian actress, the female lead of an incredible series with this genius at my right. So I don't know what to say. I'm very grateful. I feel that I'm so blessed, and I don't know what to say. It's too much.
I'm psyched about that core group of fans. That distinctive aesthetic of The Office is very much alive, and I think the show really wears that aesthetic really well. And we got to work with a lot of the people behind the scenes, a lot of our episode directors. I think more than half were old directors on The Office.
And as we wrap up this edition of World DNA, here's a quick look at all the climate stories which are making headlines across the world.
Stay tuned. You're watching Beyond World is One.
All eyes on China's Tianjin, a high-stakes convergence of the world's most influential leaders at the SCO summit. As Trump's tariffs rattle markets and the Russia-Ukraine war deepens, key meetings take center stage. Prime Minister Modi to meet Presidents Xi and Putin. Critical exchanges that could shift the balance of the global order. Watch continuous coverage only on WION. World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Israel is brazening it out in Gaza. Journalists are being targeted and killed. Famine is deepening, but Netanyahu remains in denial. Houthis are shocking Israel, unleashing a deadly missile with multiple warheads. And in Turkey, a cup of coffee comes with a glimpse of destiny, blending centuries of tradition with a ritual of fortune.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, every Friday at these times, only on WION. World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION. World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Beyond World is One. My name is Diksha Bisla. Let's start with the headlines. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro targets India again, says Trump's tariffs are aimed at unfair trade and cutting off